My parents didn't just skip my wedding, they ignored it completely. No call, no excuse, just 3 empty chairs staring back at me while I said my vows to a room full of strangers. The guests smiled like nothing was wrong, but I saw the pity in their eyes, felt it burn through the silk of my dress. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. 2 years later, when my 135K Porsche showed up on Instagram, my mom finally called. Her voice was tight, rehearsed. "We need to talk, family meeting tomorrow." So I said yes, and trust me, I didn't come empty-handed. Before I tell you what happened next, hit like and drop a comment telling me where you're listening from. Have you ever been ignored until you became successful? People like to say family is forever. In my house, it always felt like family meant Logan. Growing up, everything revolved around my older brother, his trophies, his grades, his big plans. Dad called him the future of the Hale name, like we were royalty instead of a middle-class family in suburban Oregon. I was just Lily, the quiet one, the helper, the daughter who didn't need attention because she had her head on straight. I used to sit on the floor of our living room sketching while they rearranged the mantle to fit Logan's latest award. The smell of Dad's aftershave, the sharp click of Mom's camera as she documented his victory, it's burned into me. My art certificate, the one my teacher said showed exceptional promise, ended up shoved in a kitchen drawer under old coupons. I remember asking softly if they'd come to my school art show that week. Mom didn't look up from the stove. "We'll see, honey. Logan's got regionals. That was our rhythm. His needs first, my dreams second." Even when I got a full scholarship to Stanford, the first thing Dad said was, "That's great. Maybe Logan can transfer there too." It became almost funny the way their praise always circled back to him. I learned to stop asking for it. I learned to make my silence look like strength. Years later, when I met Ethan, he noticed it right away. "You talk about them like they're ghosts," he said once. Maybe they always were. Still, when I called to tell them about the wedding, I wanted to believe they'd show up. Mom's voice was polite, detached, like she was checking off a to-do list. "We'll try, sweetie, but Logan's firm has an event that weekend." Dad's muffled voice in the background, "Tell her we're busy." I remember standing by the window phone pressed to my ear, staring at the reflection of my own face, smiling too hard. Like if I smiled enough, they might feel guilty. They didn't. The morning of my wedding, I sent one last text, "There's a seat saved for you in the front row." No reply. When the doors opened, sunlight poured into the vineyard. 90 guests turned to look at me. The air smelled of white roses and champagne. Ethan waited at the altar, eyes full of love that almost covered the hollow space inside my chest. 3 chairs stayed empty through the entire ceremony. When we kissed, I heard someone whisper, "She's so strong." I wanted to tell them I wasn't. I was just used to it. Later, as Sarah raised her glass at the reception, she said, "To finding the family who deserves you." Everyone cheered. I laughed. But deep down, something in me cracked wide open. 2 years later, I'd built a life that didn't need their approval. At least that's what I told myself. Portland in the fall had that gray, determined kind of beauty, like the whole city was hustling through the fog. My office sat on the 21st floor glass walls overlooking the river. On the day the acquisition closed, the screen flashed Crescent Studio sold, $21,000. My team burst in with champagne. To Lily Hale, Jen shouted the woman who built something from nothing. Glasses clinked. Music blasted from someone's phone. For a few hours, I let myself feel it. The weight of every late night, every rejection, every quiet win nobody saw. When the office finally emptied, I sat alone, scrolling through the company's Instagram page. My reflection floated over the city lights. Without thinking, I opened my personal account and posted a photo of the new Porsche Taycan metallic gray parked outside my house. The caption read, "Dreams realized." It wasn't bragging. It was proof to myself that I'd done it without them. 3 days later, my phone buzzed during a morning meeting. Unknown number, Oregon area code. For a second, I thought it might be a journalist. I answered anyway. "Lily." My mother's voice, soft, careful, like walking on broken glass. I froze. 5 years. Not a call, not a text. "Mom, we need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow, 2 o'clock. I laughed once, a sound sharper than I meant. "After 5 years of silence, now you want a meeting?" It's important, she said, clipped like a manager scheduling a performance review. In the background, I heard Dad tell her it's urgent. I could picture them standing in that same old colonial hallway judging the size of my success before deciding how to use it. "What's this about?" I asked. Her pause told me everything. "We'll explain tomorrow." When the line went dead, I just stared at my phone. For a long minute, I didn't feel anger or nostalgia, just a dull understanding. They hadn't changed. They'd seen the car, they'd done the math. Ethan looked up from his laptop across the table. "Everything okay?" I turned the phone face down. "My mom wants a family meeting." He studied me. "You gonna go?" "Yeah," I said. "I think it's time." That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling back through old photos, my wedding bouquet, my team's first office, the Porsche under the sunset. 3 snapshots of my life, each one missing the same faces. My mother once said I was too independent for my own good. Maybe she was right, but independence was the only thing that ever showed up. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to my attorney, "Need to review trust documentation by tomorrow morning." Because if they were calling a family meeting, I'd be walking in with something stronger than guilt. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. The house was quiet, just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the sound of Ethan grinding coffee in the kitchen. I dressed like armor navy suit, low bun heels that clicked with intent. Ethan handed me a mug. "You don't have to go." "I do," I said, slipping my phone into my bag. "But this time, I'm not going as their daughter." He nodded once. "Remember who you are." The drive to my childhood home took 40 minutes. October light filtered through the trees, soft but cold. Every mile felt like peeling back a layer I'd worked hard to grow over. The closer I got, the tighter my chest became. When the house came into view, it looked smaller than I remembered, like time had shrunk it down to size. The white shutters, the brick porch, the same hydrangeas Mom used to water every evening, it all looked preserved, untouched by guilt. She opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes flicked past me straight to the Porsche in the driveway. "You've done well for yourself," she said. "No hello." "Yes," I answered. Nothing more. Inside, the air smelled like lemon polish and control. The dining room table was already set, papers stacked neatly beside Dad's coffee mug. He sat at the head like it was a board meeting. Logan and his wife Hannah were already there, faces arranged in a polite mask of concern. "Lily." Dad's voice carried the same authority it always did. "We appreciate you coming on short notice." "I didn't realize I had a choice," I said, taking the only empty chair. He cleared his throat. "Your brother's been dealing with some financial setbacks. The twins' tuition is behind, and their house, well, the mortgage is overdue." I folded my hands on the table. "And this involves me," how Mom jumped in, her voice trembling on cue. "You're the one who's stable now. We thought maybe you could help. Just until things turn around. Family helps family," Logan added, leaning forward like a salesman closing a deal. Then Dad slid a folder across the table. "Here's the loan paperwork. We've already filled in most of it for convenience." My name stared back at me from the signature line. Something inside me went completely still. "Convenient," I said quietly. "You must have been planning this meeting for a while." Mom's eyes darted to Dad. "Don't be dramatic, Lily. We're asking, not demanding." I looked at her. "Really?" "Because it feels like a setup." Logan scoffed. "You always think you're being attacked. You made your money, now act like family and share." Dad placed a hand on his shoulder as if to steady him. "Lily, we invested everything in you and your education. This is your chance to give back." I almost laughed. "You mean the education I paid for with scholarships? Because you didn't want to co-sign my loans, silence." Mom's voice dropped to that pleading whisper I used to crumble for. "Think about your nieces, sweetheart. They shouldn't suffer because of this." Her words hit the air like a trap. I stood slowly, walked to the window, and stared out at the neatly trimmed lawn. The same swing set where Logan once pushed me off for fun was still there, paint faded, rope frayed. Some things never changed. I turned back to them, calm now. "Where were you at my wedding?" Logan blinked. "What, my wedding? 2 years ago. Where were you?" Mom's lips tightened. "We were busy. Logan had that event." Dad added, without shame. "It wasn't convenient. The world went quiet. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. I looked each of them in the eye. And now you're here because you saw the Porsche on Instagram. Because suddenly, I'm worth your time. No one spoke. I picked up the folder, flipped it closed, and set it back in front of Dad. You'll get your answer tomorrow. As I walked out, Mom called after me, Lily, don't make this harder than it needs to be. I didn't turn around. It's already as hard as it's going to get. In the car, I exhaled for the first time. My hands were steady. The fear was gone. Tomorrow, they'd learn what family means when the word stops being a weapon. The next afternoon, sunlight cut across the same dining room table like a spotlight waiting for its scene. I parked the Porsche out front, let the engine purr a second longer than necessary, then killed it. My heart didn't race this time. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Mom opened the door, perfectly composed in her beige sweater set, pretending this was an ordinary family discussion. You came, she said. Of course, I replied. You said it was important. Dad was already seated, glasses on papers spread across the table again. Logan lounged in his chair, tie loosened, playing the part of the wronged son. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon, Mom's attempt to soften the edges. I placed my briefcase on the table and stayed standing. Let's get started. Dad cleared his throat. Your brother's situation hasn't improved. We'd like to finalize the loan today. Before we do that, I said, sliding open the latch of my case, there's something you should see. Logan snorted. Let me guess, more photos of your car. I smiled, small and controlled. Not quite. From the case, I pulled a thick envelope and laid it on the table. The bold header read, The Rivera Media Scholarship Foundation, 16 million trust. What's this? Mom asked, brow furrowing. A surprise, I said softly. Since we're talking family investments, I wanted to share mine. Dad scanned the page, confusion morphing into disbelief. $16 million, every cent, I said. Legally protected, dedicated to funding education for young women in digital media arts. Logan laughed, but it came out thin. You're kidding. You put $16 million into strangers. Not strangers, I said. Girls like me. Girls who were invisible in their own homes. Mom's hand trembled. Lily, that's unwise. You could have helped your family instead of throwing it away. I clicked my phone, activating the recorder sitting beside the papers. The small red light blinked steadily. Just for transparency, I'm recording this conversation, so we're all clear about who asked for what. Dad stiffened. That's unnecessary. It's essential, I said evenly. You've all made your expectations very clear. Now let me make mine. I leaned forward slightly. You missed my high school graduation. You skipped my college showcase. You ignored my wedding. Every milestone I looked for you, every time you chose something else. So no, this money isn't for you. It's for the girls whose families can't see them either. Mom's voice cracked. We only did what we thought was best. No, I said quietly. You did what was convenient. Logan slammed his hand on the table. You think you're better than us because you got lucky, I repeated, almost laughing. You think working 3 jobs through college and sleeping in my car between classes was luck. You think every door slammed in my face was luck. No, Logan. What I am is done. For a moment, no one moved. The tension hung like smoke. Then I closed the folder, tucked it neatly into my briefcase, and straightened. You wanted to talk about family. Here's my definition: family shows up. And you didn't. Dad tried one last card, his voice low. Blood is thicker than water, Lily. Then you should have thought about that before you diluted it, I said. I walked to the doorway. Behind me, chairs scraped the floor. You can't just walk out, Logan shouted. I turned slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. I already did 2 years ago. The door clicked shut behind me. Outside, the air felt sharp and clean. I could hear them arguing through the walls, voices rising into a blur. In the car, my phone lit up with a new email from Naomi Blake, my mentor. Foundation launch approved. Press release scheduled for tomorrow morning. Perfect timing. The next day, the news spread fast. The Portland Business Journal ran the headline, Self-Made Founder Turns Pain into Purpose. The photo showed me standing beside the foundation logo, confident, collected, untouchable. By noon, my inbox filled with messages, some congratulating, some curious, a few bitter. Among them was one from Mom. You've humiliated this family. I didn't reply. That afternoon, a call came from the front desk of my building. "Miss Hale, your family's here, causing a scene." Through the glass walls of my office, I saw them. Mom waving her hands, Logan red-faced, Dad trying to keep control. My team froze eyes on me. I stood straight in my jacket. "Have security escort them out," I said calmly. Politely. Mom's voice carried even through the glass. "She's abandoning her family." I turned away, walking back to my desk. "No," I murmured to myself. "I'm saving myself." Security led them to the elevators. The moment the doors closed, the office exhaled. Jen, my creative director, whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. Better than ever. That evening, Ethan poured us 2 glasses of wine on the balcony. The city lights shimmered below. "So that's it?" he asked. "That's it," I said. "They showed who they are. I just made sure everyone else saw it too." He smiled. "Revenge your style." "Not revenge," I said, looking out at the skyline. Redefinition. The next morning, the front page of the Chronicle featured my photo, again this time under a new headline, "From Ignored Daughter to Influential Founder." Below it, a quote from my speech, "Family isn't who raises you, it's who lifts you." And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt seen. A week later, Portland woke to rain, the kind that coated everything in silver. I watched it slide down the tall windows of my office, the city blurred and quiet beneath the clouds. My inbox was still full of congratulations about the foundation launch, but my eyes kept drifting to one unread message. The subject line, "Family Emergency." I didn't open it. Naomi stopped by with coffee, her umbrella dripping by the door. "You did it," she said simply. 16 million protected and purposeful. How does it feel different? I admitted, like I finally stopped auditioning for a role I never wanted. She smiled knowingly. Freedom always feels strange at first. That night, Ethan and I walked home under one umbrella. For once, I didn't check my phone. The air smelled of wet cedar and possibility. A few days later, news started spreading Logan's house foreclosed Dad's firm under investigation for misused retirement funds, Mom selling jewelry for liquidity. The internet ate it up, but I didn't gloat. I just felt done. The noise no longer reached me. At the Women in Media Alliance Gala, I stood under soft lights in a navy gown accepting the Business Leadership Award. Cameras flashed, but I spoke slowly, letting every word carry the weight of closure. For years, I chased approval that was never mine to earn. Now I use that energy to build something that lasts. The applause felt different than pity. It was respect. After the ceremony, a young filmmaker barely 20 approached me, eyes shining. "Ms. Hale, your foundation. It means everything. My parents don't believe in what I'm doing, but your story." Her voice cracked. "It makes me believe in myself again." Her words hit somewhere deep where the old ache used to live. I placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't need their permission to be brilliant." Back at home, the award sat on our mantle, where Logan's trophies used to dominate. Ethan caught me staring at it and asked, "You good?" I nodded. Better than I thought I'd ever be. The next morning, I opened the family emergency email at last. It wasn't an apology, just Mom's familiar tone, polished and manipulative. "We're struggling. Maybe we can talk." I drafted one line in response. "When you start therapy, we can talk." Then I hit send and closed the laptop. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Sunlight pushed through, glinting off the edges of the city like something reborn. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. A year later, I stood inside the Rivera Foundation's new studio, white walls, glass ceilings, sunlight spilling over rows of cameras and laptops. Laughter echoed through the space as the first class of scholarship recipients worked on their short films. I watched one girl adjust her lens with the same nervous focus I once had. Maya, our youngest scholar, looked up and smiled. "Ms. Hale, can you check this frame?" I leaned beside her, adjusting the light just a touch. "Perfect. You're seeing the world exactly how it should be seen." Behind us, a banner read, "Family isn't who raises you, it's who lifts you." Ethan arrived, coffee in hand, his grin easy and proud. "They're doing incredible work," he said. "They're doing what I wish someone had helped me do," I replied, watching Maya hit record. Outside the studio, I could see my reflection in the glass, steady, calm, whole. There were no missing faces in this picture, no empty chairs, no unreturned calls. Just a woman who stopped asking to be chosen and started choosing herself. That night, I posted a photo of the foundation team with a caption that said, "It all. Some families are built, not born." If you've ever had to walk away from the people who made you feel small, this story is for you. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from, because your story might be the next one someone needs to hear. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free.